What's up, everyone? Mark here, and today we are making Lekach. That is a Jewish honey-sweetened cake with raisins. It is an ancient recipe. I'm not saying that this is a historically accurate ancient recipe. It's more of a modern take on it. But this is a Jewish recipe going back millennia. Honey has been used to sweeten foods. It's really one of the earliest sweeteners. Refined sugars didn't exist for a really long time, so you worked with what you had from nature. Honey was it. So today's honey cake, or lekach in Yiddish, which is sort of a slang dialect of Hebrew, I think is probably the best way that I could explain it, which translates literally to honey cake. So I'm comparing this to fruitcake. People have their own conceptions about fruitcake. Some people love it, some people hate it. Just dense, leaden cakes with pieces of dried fruit and soaked in alcohol that we often associate with the holidays. So hopefully a nice little honey sweetened cake with raisins will make for a nice little treat this holiday season. Before we get started on the recipe, I want to take a minute to thank you all again so much for continuing to watch the videos and continuing to support my channel. Please give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the red button down below the video or the watermark in the corner. When you do, just make sure that you hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I have a new video out. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so our ingredients for today are a cup and a half of honey, 1 cup of brewed coffee, 3/4 of a cup of oil, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 3 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground ginger, 3/4 of a cup of raisins, and finally 3 eggs and 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So the first thing we're going to do here to get started is add all of this stuff here. Our baking powder, baking soda, cinnamon, ginger, and the raisins right into the flour. And then we're just going to whisk this together to get all those powdered ingredients combined. This also coats the raisins in some flour and kind of helps them stay suspended in the final product so they don't all sink to the bottom of the batter. It's a similar approach to what we did in, I think it was the chocolate chip banana bread. You can check that out, where we tossed our chocolate chips in a little bit of flour to help them stay suspended in the bread. Okay. We've also got our greased 9x13 baking dish. Okay, now we're going to heat our honey over low heat and add the coffee, the oil, and the vanilla. And we just want to heat this and mix it gently until it's pretty well combined. Now, obviously, you've got some oil and water action happening here, so it's not going to completely combine, but the honey should thin out as it warms, and that will help kind of get the ingredients a little more homogeneous. Okay, I think we are good there. So I'm going to kill the heat on that. Meanwhile, we are going to start with our eggs. And our sugar. So we're going to just mix this on low speed until it's light and fluffy. Should only take a minute or two. Okay. Looks pretty good. Much lighter in color. So now with the mixer on low, we're going to start to slowly add our honey oil coffee mixture. The reason you want to do this slowly is so that the hot or warm mixture doesn't immediately shock and cook the eggs. Sort of tempering the mixture by adding a little bit of the hot stuff and then gradually working our way through. Okay, I'm going to turn this up a little bit and just continue to beat it until it is well combined. Just another 30 seconds or so. Now we are going to slowly start to add our flour raisin spice mixture. Kind of scrape around, make sure there's nothing stuck to the sides. I'm going to add this in thirds, and we want to make sure we restart the mixer slowly so that it doesn't shoot flour all over the kitchen. Just want to scrape down the sides one more time. Okay, I think we are good. So we are going to spread our batter in our prepared pan. This is just a greased, greased 9x13 baking dish. And I greased it with olive oil, since that is what I used as my fat for the recipe. That's usually what I tend to like to do, is use the same just for consistency. Okay, it is a pretty thin batter to begin with. This is going to go into a 300-degree oven, fairly low, for about 40 to 45 minutes. We're going to look for a toothpick to come out clean when it's inserted near the corners, not necessarily in the center. So 40-45 minutes, and then we will be back. Okay, we are hot out of the oven. Dry toothpick at the corners. It is still fairly jiggly and wet in the middle, but I'm not too worried about that. I think it'll continue to cook from the carryover heat, and it'll kind of solidify and kind of become a nice, moist, dense cake as it cools. So we're supposed to kind of poke this all over with a fork and pour our honey on. I'm going to use a skewer only because I'm afraid that a fork will kind of tear, slots into the cake, and especially towards the middle, that the stuff that comes up on it will just kind of rip the whole surface of the cake apart. So we're just going to poke all over. This also makes it a little bit easier to see. See, that's kind of what I was afraid of. I'm going to poke around the exterior first. And we're going to pour our honey over the entire surface of the cake. And just let that soak in as it cools. Now I'm going to give this, I don't know, I think at least an hour to fully cool. And then we will come back and give it a taste. All right, I probably could have waited for this to cool a little bit more. I mean, it's still a little warm, especially in the middle, but it's mostly cooled. I may regret it, but let's find out. I thought it might be a little more like bread pudding than cake, but indeed. Very sweet. Very sweet, but in a mild way. You know, honey isn't a super powerful, super sugary sweetener. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. It's a dense, rich, delicious honey cake. And the flavor of the honey is really pronounced too. It really comes through. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and we will see you in the next one.